Good afternoon, everybody. How are you today? All right. I was just bragging and boasting to my new friend, Mr. Bobby Jones, that we have the most energetic and attentive crowd we've had all summer, so don't let me down. So my name's Kyle Belanger, but that doesn't matter. If you can hear me and you're up in the upper bowl and you want to get even closer to a Hall of Famer, I'd encourage you to come on down. There's plenty of seats still left in the bleachers. So the 60 days of summer, as you know, is 60 consecutive days of family-friendly entertainment right here underneath the watchful eyes of all of the Hall of Famers above us. This is added, it's included in the price of admission, and some days that might be a performance by the court jesters, great basketball comedians and performers. Some days it might be clinics by the UMass basketball team. Other days, you get to meet some of the luminaries of our game, Muggsy Bogues, Hamidou Diallo. These are all guys we have coming up. And then other times, like today, you get to hear from actual Hall of Famers. So for the next 25 minutes, I get to go one-on-one with my guest today. After that, though, it will be your turn. We will choose a few of you who want to volunteer to ask Mr. Bobby Jones a question. Because I'm going to forget some stuff. You might as well be there to clean it up. And then after that, Mr. Jones is going to walk over to the table on my right, your left, and you'll each get a chance to grab an autograph from my new friend, Bobby Jones. So let's get to it, shall we? Who is Mr. Bobby Jones? For the Rockets and Nuggets and Sixers fans in here, you know who he is. He is a member of the Hoop Class of 2019 that will be enshrined in September in this very building. He's an NBA champion with the 83 76ers, the Fo crew. He's a 4-time NBA All-Star, an 8-time NBA All-Defensive First Team. He also starred in the ABA, making the All-Star and All-Rookie teams. He led North Carolina to the Final Four in 1972, a year in which he also represented the United States of America in Munich, Germany, winning a silver medal. And here's something else. Mr. Bobby Jones never received a technical foul. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Bobby Jones. It's a pleasure, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Bobby, welcome to Springfield.
Thank you. Good to be here.
This is so exciting for me. I do believe I have the best job in all of the business because I get to sit here 5 weeks before everything changes in this building with the people for whom it's changing the most for. I want to start, if you don't mind, with the way I normally finish. Can you talk to me a little bit about, and talk to us a little bit about what this moment is like for you, sitting beneath the Hall of Famers that you are joining, sitting with your new fraternity and sorority?
Well, it's very special for me. I would have to say, Kyle, that I'd never really anticipated being here in this position. I enjoyed my career and I enjoyed what I did. I felt like the defensive end has always been as important as the offensive end, maybe not as recognized. And the people that I played for in college and in the pros taught me to try to do my best to help the team win. And that may not have included scoring 20 points a game, which I never did. But to be included in the class of the people that are around us with the pictures that I'm looking at right now is it's a little bit intimidating.
And of course, in all of my research and in following your career, I know that you're legendary for being humble, but this could be a chance between you and me. We can high five. This is awesome. So let me ask you this. One of the greatest beginnings of a Hall of Fame career, I think, belongs to you because it doesn't necessarily involve organic love for basketball. Legend goes that, and my wife is from roughly where you are, so I know how important family suggestions can be. Your dad and your older brother sort of inched you into the game when you would have much rather have maybe been being on the track and field team.
Absolutely. I was not a basketball fan. I didn't enjoy the game. I was very uncoordinated, very gangly. And my brother was a good athlete, and I enjoyed watching him play. But my dad, we moved to Charlotte, North Carolina when I was starting to the 6th grade. And he put a basketball goal in the backyard. And he actually made me start doing workouts out there, and I didn't want to do it, but he's my dad, so you follow what your dad tells you to do, and so he would be on the road during the week traveling the state of North Carolina for Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company, and he left a list of things for me to do. 15 free throws, 25 tips on the backboard, left-handed hook shots, right-handed hook shots, and different things. And I didn't like doing that, but he's your dad, and he tells you what to do. And he saw in me that I would have a potential to be possibly a good athlete because I had big hands, I had big feet, and so he sort of laid the groundwork with that.
Bobby, when did the actual love for it come in? Because you were found success very quickly.
Well, I think in high school I started to like it more because for me as a quiet person,
yeah.
In high school we all want to have a niche in school. There's the athletes, there's the kind of the cool people, there's the wild group and the academics, and I really didn't fit in any of those categories. And so through athletics was the closest I could get to that. So I enjoyed it for that in high school, and I think really the love of the game came probably in college with my coaches there.
That's fantastic, and I love that because I think so many of the youngsters who might be out here listening to you right now, that's going to resonate an awful lot because those years where you're just looking for a group, that matters, and our game can really be that great equalizer, can't it? There's a place for everyone.
Yes, there is, and again, like you had mentioned earlier, I love track and field. I was a high jumper, and I was thin, and I could jump fairly well, and I had success with that, and I love that. I just love that part of it. But the basketball, the team aspect of that for me was a lot of fun because you could be encouraged by your teammates, and you could depend on your teammates to help you.
Now, you mentioned college, and that was when the love and the coaches maybe fostered that love. I notice you're wearing your powder blue today, so you get to live the dream of every high school boy in the South. Dean Smith comes calling. Now, the legend of Dean Smith is deserved, and he's looking down on us right now. What was that like for you, having Coach Smith sitting in your living room saying, "We'd like for you to be a Tar Heel"?
Well, it was very intimidating. He is a legend in the country for basketball, but also more so in the state of North Carolina. And so he and Coach Guthridge and John Lotz, the three coaches that were at North Carolina at the time, back in those days, they could recruit and they could visit you every week. And so John Lotz would come out and take me to dinner every week, and got to know him, got to like him, and I got to understand the other two coaches were interested in me as a basketball player, but more also as a person, and that really impacted me because I really appreciated. In fact, Coach Guthridge was my freshman coach, and he would always tell me to stand up straight. I'd always slump over because most doorways are 6'8" and I'm 6'9", and I would sort of slouch, and even in the hallways, Bobby, stand up straight. Just sort of as a father, just sort of making me try to do a little bit better.
Was that relationship as you moved on as a professional, Coach Smith, Coach Guthrie, was that relationship important to you as you moved on through your basketball career?
It was, yes. They instilled in me. In fact, I would have to say, Kyle, that if I had not gone to North Carolina, I would not be sitting here today.
Wow.
I learned how to play defense at North Carolina. Coach Guthridge, that freshman year on the JV team, taught me how to give weak side help, how to take a charge, how to anticipate, how to block a shot from the weak side, and how to never give up on a play. And loose balls, if you don't dive on the floor for a loose ball, it's not good. So that was really the foundation laid for me as a basketball player.
And I want to talk a little bit about 1972 for you for a couple of reasons. I get exhausted when I look at my week ahead and I think about having to grocery shop and take care of the cat. You went to the Final Four and played in the Olympics. This is one unbelievable year. So the Final Four happens, and it is in Los Angeles. And then legend says that Coach Smith sort of made a couple of calls to get you a tryout onto the team that would eventually play in Munich, Germany.
Yep.
When you think back on that year, Was young Bobby Jones ready for that whirlwind, or were you just taking the advice of the people around you?
I was just following the advice of people around me. I was a sophomore in college, and I didn't start for North Carolina. I came off the bench, and in the Final Four, in the final game, the semifinal game, one of our players, one of my teammates, was late for lunch by about 5 minutes, and so I got to start that game in place of him. And it was a great honor and great thrill for me, and ended up losing that game, but I played fairly well. And then, a month later, the season's over, and the invitations for the Olympic trials come out, and I was not one of the 150 people invited. So I enrolled in summer school, and one night I was playing volleyball with my teammates, went home and had a seizure, had an epileptic seizure.
Oh my gosh.
And went to the hospital, and they diagnosed it as a heart virus that I had and treated me for it. And while I was actually in the hospital, Coach Smith came by and he said, "Hey, Bobby, the tryouts are coming up in a couple of weeks. A couple of guys have dropped out. Some people are protesting the war in Vietnam, and other guys. One guy got arrested with a tire. He was attacking somebody with a tire iron." And he said, I've arranged for you to go out there if you want to try out, and it'd be a good experience for you."
Wow.
And I said, "Well, Coach, yeah, I'd like to do that." So I dropped out of summer school and went out there. And it's interesting. I was placed on. There were 10 teams or 12 teams of 10 players each, and we practiced every morning, played every night. And my team was coached by Bobby Knight, and Bobby Knight loved defense, and that's all I could do. I couldn't shoot very well. And Coach Iba, who was the head coach of the whole thing, loved defense. And so, when they announced the 12 guys to make the team, I was one of those, and that was one of the greatest moments of my life to receive that.
All of the coaches that it's incredible. Every coach you're mentioning is looking at you right now from above us.
Yeah.
Now, the beginning of your professional career is also, I think, a testament to your constant ability to look for the path that is right. And so after your junior year, you're drafted into the ABA, which is something that the ABA owned. For those of you who don't know, the ABA owned that ability to draft players, or they claimed that ability. They took that ability to draft players before their senior year was over. You decide to go back to North Carolina and finish your degree in the most Bobby Jones decision ever. After that, you're drafted number 5 overall. But then, because of some negotiation, you end up playing in the ABA for the Denver Nuggets. Can you talk about that as sort of the moment where basketball is no longer just a way to get an education, but now you're having to get advice about your career?
Well, yeah, Kyle, I wanted to go back and finish my degree in psychology, which I did. And when I was drafted by the Nuggets in the ABA, Houston picked me number 5 in the NBA. And they really, the offers, the financial offers were really about the same. But at Denver, Larry Brown was the coach, and he was a North Carolina guy. And back then, the rule generally was if you are drafted or you go to the NBA, you usually sit a year and watch. And I really wanted to get the experience as quickly as I could to learn how to play the pro game. And so I chose to go to Denver, and it was a great decision for me. I had a great team around me, and had a great experience with those 4 years out there.
That was, that Denver ABA team is the thing of legend. Hall of Famers all over the place, not just at the coach. With Issel, you guys were legendary.
Yeah, we had a good team. I think the culmination for us was that the last year of the ABA, they combined the All-Star players to play against the first place team in the league in the All-Star game, and that was Denver. And we ended up beating the All-Stars, and that was just a great thrill and an honor to be a part of that.
You're also a part of one of the moments in basketball history that really changes the face of professional basketball in the world, which is the ABA-NBA merger in '76. Yeah. Now, I always think about that moment in terms of the people who weren't on the teams that were merged in. There's got to be a lot of fear for a lot of the players who you knew and became friends with, who didn't automatically assimilate into the NBA. Meanwhile, y'all are living fine. I mean, it was just a matter of changing the logo on your jersey. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I had a friend who was a teammate of mine at Denver, got traded to another team and just was hoping to catch on with an NBA team. And so the times were tough as far as those guys were concerned. But, for us at Denver, we really were motivated because we wanted to prove that we were as good as the NBA teams because we didn't have the TV contract that the NBA had. We still thought we were a quality team. And so we played very well that first year, and I think we won our division and had a good year and just sort of proved. In fact, at that All-Star game that year, which I was chosen to, it was in Atlanta, I believe. Julius Erving was the leading vote getter, a former ABA player, and he recognized all the people on the dais who were former ABA players, and there were as many ABA players up there as there were current NBA players.
Gosh, that's awesome. Now, this is the part I was telling you about. I only have 3 questions left for the Hoop Hall class of 2019's Bobby Jones. So, in a few minutes, I'm going to ask for some volunteers. At that point, if you have a question that you've been itching to ask, you can't believe I haven't asked it, you're going to put your hands in the air, and one of my friends on the great Hoop Hall staff will put you in a line to my right, your left. So be thinking about that right now. Now, your trade to the Sixers after 77-78 included the chance to play in the East with Dr. J and Dawkins and Caldwell Jones and later Moses Malone. Can you talk about how long it took for that move to feel natural?
Well, I would say that it really felt natural immediately because I was having some physical problems in Denver. The altitude, I think, was affecting me. I had had a couple of more seizures, and I had a heart palpitation problem also. So I was taking medication for 2 different things that kind of caused me to not be at my top level of performance.
Sure.
And I remember my last year in in Denver, we were playing against the Sixers by coincidence, and I was ready to take a charge on Daryl Dawkins. Daryl was about 6'11", 280 pounds, and as he came down the lane, I thought to myself, I think I may just let him have this one. And I stepped aside, and I let him dunk the ball, and I just want to keep playing. I didn't want to get hurt. And so we had these long, silky nets in Denver. Now the nets are uniform across the league, but back then, if you were a slow-paced team, you'd have these tight cotton nets, and you'd almost have to knock the ball to get it out of there. But for us, we were a fast-breaking team, so we had these long, silky nets that the ball would just swish through. You could take it out and inbound it quickly and get back to the other end. But as he threw the ball through the rim, he had so much backspin on it that it caught in the net and spun out the top. And I caught it. Wow. And the referees stopped the game, and they didn't know whether to count it or not.
Wow!
It had not all gone all the way through, and so as I'm standing there, they go to the scores table, and they discuss it. And as I'm standing there, I smell something burning, and the term "the nets are on fire."
Yeah.
Well, they weren't on fire, but the friction that he had created had caused hundreds of little silk threads to start drifting through the air. And I thought, this guy's pretty powerful. I'd like to have this guy as my teammate sometime. And then a year later, he's my teammate, and then he starts shattering backboards, and that's where we have breakaway rims now.
Gosh,
yeah.
That's so. Chocolate Thunder actually had a smell.
Well,
maybe that's the lightning. He brought the thunder and the lightning.
That's right.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, the '83 team is historically remembered as that faux team, and it is one of my favorite casts of characters from top to bottom in NBA history. Of course, Moses Malone talks about going faux, winning 4 games. You do that in 2 of those 3 rounds, including that sweep of the Lakers in the finals. I know every series and every game is special, but can you talk about how extra sweet that was because of having already lost to those Lakers in '80 and '82?
Yes, it was very special. We were, they were a great team, and we had a great year. We had won 65 games, I think, and it takes a toll. I mean, we were physically a little bit tired, but we didn't have the injuries that other teams had during the season, so we were fortunate in that area. But I remember those 4 Laker games that we won all 4 of them, but we were losing at halftime of every one of those games.
Really?
And we just had to force ourselves to come back and keep playing hard. And And Moses did make the difference for us. His play inside, defensively and offensively for us, was just something that put us over the top. And the last, couple of minutes of that final game when Julius got a breakaway steal and a dunk, and we knew we were going to win. It was just a different feeling that I've never had.
This is the moment that I was telling you about. So if you have a question for Mr. Bobby Jones, put your hands in the air right now. One of the great Hoop Hall staffers will choose a handful of you and put you in a line to my right, your left. It's a great opportunity. All right, Mr. Jones. You're driving in the car in early April of this year, and your phone rings, and the area code is 413. Can you tell us the story about finding out that you would be joining the Basketball Hall of Fame class of 2019?
Yes, I was on my way with my wife and my best friend to visit my son Matt down in Charleston, South Carolina, which is about a 3-hour drive away. We were about halfway there, and the phone rang, and I put it on speaker because I was driving my truck, and the gentleman answered, told me who he was from the Basketball Hall of Fame, and he just told me, congratulations, you have been voted into the Hall of Fame. And I didn't know what to say. I was just kind of dumbstruck. My wife was crying in the back seat, and my friend was hitting the roof with his fist. Well, I was trying to stay on the wheel and not tear up too much, but I just was really overwhelmed with I think the emotion of knowing that the work that I had done for those 12 years of pro basketball and in college had made a difference in people's minds.
You and I were, and I'm going to add this on because I want people to know just about the level of philanthropy that Hall of Famers like you bring in pushing this game forward. As a Hall of Famer who also values community and values engagement, we were talking off mic. Mr. Jones was a volunteer high school basketball coach last year. Imagine being coached as a basketball high schooler by a Hall of Famer. Can you talk about the way that this game has allowed you to interact in your community and what that means?
Yes, Kyle. I'm a Christian, and so my faith is important to me, and it has allowed me to share as I speak to different organizations, and even at high school graduations or whatever event it might be, to share how I feel like the Lord has just blessed me with my size and my ability. It's not really things that I've done. I had great coaches. We sometimes tend to think that we do it ourselves, and we don't. We work hard, but there are circumstances that take place that affect how we perform and what we do. And for me to be on a team at Denver with the great David Thompson, and then to go to Dr. J's team, Philadelphia, and not have to worry about scoring a lot of points, but concentrating on what I could do best, was play defense. Those are blessings that you just, if I had gone somewhere else, I might not have had that opportunity. So to give back to my community through coaching, through sharing my faith or whatever it might be, the knowledge that I have in basketball is something that I've really enjoyed doing.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and thank Mr. Bobby Jones.
Thank you.
So I didn't tell you this before, Mr. Jones, but I ask all the easy questions. We let the audience ask the tough ones. So I'm guessing this one's going to be hard.
Sure.
So here we go. So I'll come on over. I only have two requests. One, that you introduce yourself to Mr. Jones, tell him who you are, where you're from, and then you allow me to hold the microphone.
All right. My name's Eli Alexander, and I'm from New Hampshire.
Yeah.
So what's your question?
And my question was, you were saying when you were in the ABA, your Denver Nuggets team, when they were the first seed, they played against the All-Star team and won.
Yeah.
My question was, in your career, did you find that team chemistry outweighed star power on the team? Or, because I know you also play with a star-loaded team in the '83 Sixers,
Yes.
so you kind of have experience on both ends.
Yes, I do, and that's a great question. And the experience of teammates does make a big difference. And I think one of the problems with teams today, and even back then, is that teams they want to get rid of players so quickly if they don't win a championship. But it takes a year or two or three to get used to what guys do. And And once you know somebody, and you like, with Julius, I could get a look from him, and I know to go back door. I just, we've done it so many times. But if you only play with a guy for a couple of months or a year, you don't know that, and you might fake it, and he'll throw the ball out of bounds, and it's a turnover. So, yeah, the team chemistry is much more important than the star power.
Yeah, that's what it seems like a lot of the times. You see star-loaded teams, and they really underperform to the expectations that were set for them.
Yes, and you also find that, I look at Brooklyn and Milwaukee, both teams this year had really good players, but they're also very hungry players. They wanted to perform well, they knew their roles, and they didn't try to step outside of their roles. And because of that, they had great success.
Yeah, I saw that in Toronto as well with the
Absolutely.
role players. They really wanted, and they just played into their roles.
Very much so.
Thank you, Eli. I appreciate that. Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take the next question. How are you, sir?
Good. Just introduce yourself to Mr. Jones. My name's Raul, and I come from California.
Yes, sir.
Nice
to meet you.
What's your question?
And my question is, playing with a lot of Hall of Famers, how was that feeling, and how did it feel to play with a young Charles Barkley and playing against him in practice?
Well, it was great to play with a lot of Hall of Famers. Great players make it a lot easier for me or for anybody else who's playing the game. With Charles came into the league. I had 2 more years left before we played together for 2 years. He came into the league at 305 pounds, and he was literally called the round mound of rebound. He was a big guy, and I remember him setting a pick on me one time, and I went into him, and it was like going into a marshmallow man. He was just so soft, and but I was certainly impressed early on by his quickness. And I remember after several practices we used to practice at St. Franklin and Marshall in Lancaster, Pennsylvania for preseason. Julius and I would sit after practice and talk about the team. And when Charles came up, our comment was, we don't think he'll last 5 years because his back or his knees or something's going to break carrying that kind of weight. And but he did drop a lot of pounds and became a tremendous player. And so it was. I enjoyed playing with Charles because he was such a competitor. He hated to lose, and would do whatever it took, team-wise, to be unselfish to get that victory.
Thank you, Raul.
Thank you.
Something tells me this is going to be the hardest question, Mr. Jones. Hey, bud, how are you?
My name is Carter Searfoss, and I'm from Pennsylvania.
What's your question?
And who was the Finals MVP in the '83 season?
The Finals MVP in the '83 season, I think, was Moses Malone. Yeah, he was. He did it on both ends of the court. He played great against Kareem and was an offensive threat. Got a lot of rebounds, threw the quick outlet passes for us to get the fast breaks going. So, yeah, he deserved it, and he certainly was. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, buddy. I appreciate it. Safe travels back home. Ladies and gentlemen, one last round of applause for the Hoop Hall class of 2019's Bobby Jones.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. He was fantastic. Now, Mr. Jones is going to walk over, as I mentioned, to the table on my right, your left. If you'll follow the directions of my Hoop Hall friends, they'll put you in line behind the stanchion right over here. I have 2